We've got a bogan, you've got an ochre, and you got a westie.
What else you got? Tell me another one.
Good on ya. Yeah, good on ya.
And have some brekkie.
That's like Quiz Essential Australia. Everything in Australia is shortened. If we can shorten your name, we will, or we're gonna add an O on the end.
Can I say the word is wog, a bad word?
Oh my God, that's impressive. You did some research.
Now let's talk about terminologies.
Right.
I had a guy say to me once that he was gonna put his thong on, or thongs, and go to the servo. And I thought, well, not that there's anything wrong with that, but a thong is actually footwear.
Yeah, no, well, again, like I was saying, you got to get that full slang in. So it's going to be, I'm just going to chuck on me thongs and go down to the servo. Yeah, so then you're real, you're right in there.
And have some brekkie.
And brekkie, yeah, because the terminology, everything in Australia is shortened. If we can shorten your name, we will, or we're going to add an O on the end. So it's like if your name is Steve, it's going to be Steve-O, or Greg or Grego. Yeah.
And an air conditioner is a...
Aircon.
Aircon. What else you got? Tell me another one.
My husband, Rob behind the camera's got a few of those. What have you got there? What you got?
How you going?
Yep.
How you going?
Which is like, how you doing, or how you
doing today? Yeah.
Okay.
How you going, mate?
And what would fair dinkum be?
Very much. Yes. Definitely.
Emphatically,
yes.
really.
Yeah. Well, there's like simple ones too, right? So it's like we've got like what you guys call the trunk, we call the boot of the car, aluminum. You guys say aluminum, and we go like aluminium.
And what's the difference between a bloke and a mate?
Well, a mate is like your friend, and a bloke is like just a reference to like a guy. It's just like you're a good guy.
A dude.
Yeah, you're a dude. You're like.
And a bogan.
Oh wait, I didn't even discuss this. So we've got a bogan. You've got an ochre, and you've got a westie, and they're all different.
I haven't heard of a westie. What is a westie?
Well, a westie's from like a certain types of western suburbs, and there's like a certain type of tone in the way that they speak. And then you've got a bogan who, also has like a way that they speak, and I guess where they're from. And then you've also got an ochre. But funny enough, they all sound different. So I guess it's like a hillbilly, a redneck, and maybe like.
Hillbilly or redneck?
I don't want to go political, but I felt like saying a MAGA supporter.
But there you go. Well, that's about it. Now I understand. I got you.
Yeah. Like, so there's different types.
And when would you say she be right? She be right, mate?
That's like Quiz Essential Australia. Like, it's almost a slightly problematic too, because even when things are bad, right? So let's say like, someone's having a really hard time emotionally and they're really struggling, and instead we should be saying, look, maybe we should get them some help. Our response is, oh, she'll be right. Yeah, she'll be fine. She'll be fine. It's in a way, it's always like, you're dismissing the emotion of whatever it is, whether it be anger, like sadness, fear. You'll be right, as if to say, don't worry about it. Don't worry about what you're feeling. It doesn't matter. It will pass, as opposed to being like, we should acknowledge that you're having a certain feeling right now, and you should just have that feeling, and then we can move right on, which is interesting. That's one of the things that, funny enough, is like very ingrained in the culture. It's like, try not to react and respond to your feelings. Just pretend like they're not there.
Now, can I still say Sheila?
That is old school terminology. Yes, you can absolutely still. Like,
and
she's
it's
Sheila.
Not rude. It's not like sexist.
Probably in the modern day, I feel like it would fall under the sexism, but I would also feel bloke does too. I think it defines the male and female personalities as masculine, feminine, and I don't think we live in that space anymore. I think there's fluidity in the world, so we should just enjoy the fact that people can be different and perceived differently. Yes. But yeah, bloke and Sheila are very much of the, you're a man and she's a woman.
And good on you.
Good on ya, yeah, like that's like as if, yeah, great. But also good on ya can mean multiple things. Like you can say good on ya to spark controversy. So if someone says something to you, like they're starting to start a fight, you're like, all right, good on ya, yeah, good on ya. Like it as if this is actually can be aggression sort of point of view, and then you can also do it as like a terms of endearment. Yeah, good on you, mate.
Okay, I got you.
Good on you.
Okay.
So that's all in the tone and the inflection.
Okay.
But yeah, definitely a few things.
And to call someone a dog.
As in a female, like, oh, she's such a dog.
Because
like,
here we might say that's my dog.
Well,
but there, you call someone a dog, it's like a terrible thing, is it not?
It depends. If we're talking about sometimes, certainly like back in the day, I think when you would have heard it, it would have been referring to women and or how people look for sure. It would have been like, oh, she's a dog, like she's dirty, she's disgusting. So that wouldn't have been very nice.
So if a guy says it to another guy with an aggressive tone, is that ground?
Yeah, no, because you'd be dogging it. I'm trying to think of, it's weird. I actually have to say it like an Australian to understand the terminology behind it, which is kind of like a weird thing.
Absolute
Dog, yeah.
Worst.
See, there you go. That's a guy thing.
Human being. Don't even spit on him.
Oh,
There
wow.
you go. See,
That's
that's a guy. That's why you have to ask the guy point of view on that one, because like I'm like I wouldn't have used it, you know.
So Robbie, give me another one. What else is there? Give me some good stuff.
I mean,
I'll give you a few. I wrote a few out if you don't mind. Chuck a sickie, is that one?
Oh, chuck a sickie.
Is that when you throw up?
No, that's when you call in sick to work, because chuck is like a big thing. We use chuck for everything, like chuck it in there, throw it in there, you know, or like fake something. You can chuck a something. So like chuck a sickie means you call in and say you're sick when you're not sick.
What else you got, Ryan?
A bludger.
A bludger? Oh, as in like a doll bludger. I had to think about
And then,
this.
is this old? Well,
Well, no, that's like, so you know when someone like lives off like social security here and they like don't get a job and stuff like that, we call that person like a bludger. And in Australia,
on the dole.
on the dole, so that you basically, they're just living off the government and they're just happy doing absolutely nothing with the rest of their life. They're bludgers, yeah.
A bludger.
It's another word for toilet. The dunny is another word for toilet, yes.
I'm heading to the dunny.
But that is also a very specific, like where you're from, like a regional spot for sure.
And can I say the word is wog, a bad word?
Wog is like technically a derogatory term for people that, like I think it actually means like Western Oriental gentleman, I think is actually the expansion of what it's supposed to mean. But when in Australia, it's like people that are like, you know, Italian, Greek, Lebanese, Serbian, Hungarian, it's like very specific. And in the 80s and the 90s, it definitely was a derogatory term. So like people would use it in a discriminatory way against other people.
We don't want to use that.
Look, you know what's interesting is like there are still characters based around like wogs in Australia, and it's now kind of seen as this endearing thing. But the interesting underlines for that for me is I think that in a way it's still discriminatory, but we're just kind of dismissing it and pretending like it's not. But in fact, it still is. You know what I mean? Because there were people, like I said, I talk about myself. When I was like a kid in primary school, I had kids throw food at me and call me like a fucking wog. So it was not a nice thing. Sometimes Australia has a way of making a joke about something in order for us not to handle a serious topic or talk about something serious. You know what I mean?
What would you call a husband or a wife? Here.
I use partner a lot, which I do think is a good thing. I think when you talk about your partner, I think it's a nice reference. Robin, what are you laughing at?
you could refer to your wife as the missus, or if you were going to go one step further than
Ball
that,
and chain?
You the ball and chain.
I would not say that, ever.
Or they used to call the missus, then got changed to the cheese and kisses.
See,
Which is Cockney.
Yeah. I think we do get a lot of them from the UK.
Why? You were aghast or something?
I knew that stuff was said. I definitely have heard the missus before, and I've heard the ball and chain, which is absolutely horrendous. He'd get a nice smack.
So we know better. Yeah, he gets to not say that. What else you got there, Ryan?
To crack on to someone.
Oh, to crack on. Oh my God. That's impressive. You did some research. So crack on is like, you know, you're going to hit on someone.
So you haven't heard that in a while.
I have not heard that in forever, and it just brings back like, yeah, I'm going to crack on to her. But basically to hit on someone or to, you know, make a pass at someone, that's a nice way to put it. I love the fact that you guys don't, because you guys say pissed, but you don't say pissed off. Right? So I know this sounds like a strange thing, but you guys be like, I'm so pissed at you right now. But we'd be like, I'm so pissed off. And I was just always used to dumbfound me at the fact that pissed wouldn't be finished, because I would think of pissed being drunk.
Right.
Because we would actually say, I'm so pissed, as in I'm drunk, like I'm pissed up. That used to actually kind of like spin me out a little bit all the time. Also, you guys are really polite. So certain things, like we'd be like, where's the bathroom? Or like, you know, in Rob's case, where's the dunny? Or, you know, the loo. You guys are like, you guys would be like, where's the powder room? Or
where's
the
the head?
restroom? It's always very formal, whereas we're far more rough. And
But the
to
dunny
point.
doesn't sound that bad.
No,
you know?
the dunny sounds, for me, that sounds horrendous.
Oh, does it
Yeah.
really? The dunny.
The dunny, it makes it sound dirty. Like, what are you
As
going to
opposed
do
to the
in there?
Where's the toilet?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that sounds harsh.
where's the
That's
toilet?
harsh. The loo.
Yeah, but the loo's really British. Like, excuse me, have you guys tell me where the loo is?
Or the men's room.
Yeah, but it's like, it's very polite. It's very polite. I also found men would be a lot more polite to women, like in terms of that was definitely an interesting thing. Like men would court women, like take them out and buy them drinks and buy them dinner. And it was a very American thing. Australian men
Get
would
out.
not
No
necessarily.
way. So
no
how would you
way.
court them?
Actually, it would be almost a war between women and men. It'd be like, oh, I'm going to try and see if you'll buy me a drink. And so girls would literally work to try and get drinks. Or in the reverse, it would be like the guys, they'd be like, oh, nah, she can, like, she went and like, I just hit on her or something. But then I just thought, oh, I might buy her a drink. But it's not like a common thing. That would happen, right? Like with the girls and stuff like that, like buying of drinks. Rob, yeah.
So if you see a guy that you like, is it customary to walk up to him and say hello?
We're far more forward. Women are far more forward like that. So if we found guys that we were into, we would definitely have no problems approaching. Whereas that was not an American thing. American women would always wait and be like, no, they're coming to us. Whereas Australian women are like, oh, nah, like I went for him. I saw him across the room and I was like, that guy. So
I got the impression that Australian women were a little bit more dainty. Prim and proper.
If we think about it, Australia's like this big island in the middle of nowhere, right? We're ultimately built as a culture. We're built from, obviously, we have Indigenous, but convicts are a big part of our culture, and then immigrants. So there's been definitely this mixed opinion, culturally of how we approach things. And I think women very much want to be in the forefront and have a lot more, very much in control. There's I think those rules and the stigmas of men versus women in terms of the roles and responsibilities have been there, but women in Australia are far more vocal about fighting against it. So much so. That was a big difference I found here. I don't think that is now. I mean, this was 20 years ago that we're talking about when I first came here.
And how different is that relationship between Sydney and, let's say, Perth? Or Hobart?
Huge. The same difference is how different is it from Texas to California,
exactly.
Right? It is very, very different. And so again, I think that comes down to being city girls, right? City girls versus country girls. So the country girls would be more in line with the roles and responsibilities, and they'd be happy to do this and, cook and home and stuff like that. But if you're a city girl, if you move to Sydney or Melbourne, you're a career woman, you were ambitious, you were outspoken, you went for what you want, you know what I mean? And I think in that way, that was definitely like an interesting sort of difference, definitely. But I would say that is here. If you're living in the middle of like a certain part of Utah, you've got a different point of view than if you're living in California, and that's why you move from Utah to California, is to have that change.
Really?